Hello everyone, I'm Krasi, and this is my analysis for the month of June. Before I tell you day by day the most important events that we may, activities that we may perform and activities that we may need to avoid, just to tell you what is happening right now on the sky in June, especially in June. Now, first, what is happening already on the 1st of June? We're having the disappearance from the sky of Mars. And I made a separate video on this. Mars becomes invisible in Gemini and is making opposition to Saturn and Pluto. And actually, Mars invisible can be quite unpredictable. Therefore, approximately until Mars makes his exact opposition, like mid-June, it's good that we are very careful. Whatever we perform, whatever we initiate when traveling or negotiating, we really need to be careful. We need to use our intuition, because this Mars disappearing at the moment of the appearance of Mercury, because at this very same moment, Mercury is becoming visible. He is rising heliacally in the last degrees of Taurus and is receiving opposition from a very powerful Jupiter, who is in a phase called a chronicle rise. Very young, very powerful Jupiter. This is beautiful because Jupiter is a beautiful planet. But when making opposition to Mercury, that becomes visible. And when at this point, very same moment, Mars is becoming invisible, this would say that we need to be careful whom we believe. We need to be careful which media we listen to, or we should question every single information that is coming around us. Also, this particular Mercury can be fine in case that we do media work, share knowledge. So this will be fine because he is appearing in a very important, powerful, successful degrees in Taurus. But still, we have to question every information that is reaching us, because at that time, a lot untruth facts may appear from on high governmental levels, for example. Also, what is very important is that at this same moment, Saturn, Pluto still remain retrograde. This would say that even though Mercury will become visible and this will have positive impact on the world economy for a while, still these two planets will be reason for delays in the economy, in any sector of the economy. So everything we do, we need to double check, triple check, and be careful. The invisibility of Mars in opposition to Saturn would say that hostilities are possible, conflicts are possible, Earth's natural unpleasant events are possible. So this is also important to know. So before I continue with the events day by day, it's just good that we have the overall picture on the sky, and to benefit from what is really good, which will be Venus entering Taurus. It will be nice and supporting the market, the communication for a while. Especially good to be for people who have, of course, Taurus ascendant, Taurus midheaven, Scorpio ascendant, Scorpio midheaven, for example, Leo ascendant, Aquarius ascendant. So this will be quite positive, and they can benefit from this in relation to their business or love life, because Venus will be powerful and beautiful. Still, the overwhelming power of Saturn and Pluto on the sky will be there, will be present. And that's why we need to be careful when we initiate new things, when we do our routine work, and we need to double check and be very detailed in every single thing that we do. So the first lunar crescent for June will appear in Gemini. This will be emphasizing on the importance of Mars. Mars becoming invisible. So we need to be careful. Stay away from conflict, unnecessary, dangerous travel, for example, not take any risk, because there will be events all over the world which will not be pleasant and that we'll be hearing about. Now, on the 1st of June, the month, this is not the lunar month, but the solar month starts with the moon conjoined Venus in Taurus. But this is the last lunar crescent. So on this day, it is really not very appropriate to do new initiatives. We may do surgical interventions, beauty procedures. We may do, we may travel cautiously. We may do gardening. It is all fine. We may even do negotiations, but no new beginnings. Surgical interventions, yes, if they are not invasive. And then on the 2nd, on the 3rd, and on the 4th, the moon is invisible in Taurus. And this is, the moon disappears in Taurus. This will, of course, have influence on the money, not very positive on the economy. And, and this is actually the situation. This is exactly what is happening now. Under the influence of all retrograde planets, the markets and the economy are suffering. And I said this already long ago before this took place. So during these 3 days of the lunar invisibility, the most appropriate activity is to do, without taking risks, our routine work, no new initiatives, no surgical interventions, no risky business, no travel, just do routine business with cautiously. And the 3 days will be very appropriate for spiritual work, very, very much, because this is the place where the moon is exalted, of course. On the 5th of June, the moon is appearing heliacally, is appearing in conjoined the invisible Mars. On this particular day, we need to be extremely cautious with everything that we do. No risks to take, no surgical interventions, just do our routine work very cautiously. This day and the day after 6th, we really need to be cautious. 7th of June. On the 7th of June, the moon is on a very spiritual place, very well placed in Cancer. New beginnings, it's not appropriate on this particular day. We may do spiritual practices, meditations, practices that would enhance our intuition. We may plant. It will be, the day may be very fruitful if you seed or plant. So travel, you may cautiously. Surgical interventions, no. Now on the 8th of June, the moon has no course. Nothing much can happen on such day. No big results if we invest time in work. We may not expect big results if we do this on this particular day. Therefore, we can use the day for studying, for philosophical, psychological activities, spiritual work. Surgical interventions, not. Yes, 9th of June. On the 9th of June, the moon passes through the important degrees of Leo, very much about astrology, very much about esoterics. On this particular day, we may travel cautiously. We may do our routine work. New beginnings, if really necessary, you may. Surgical procedures, no. 10th, the moon is conjunct important star of astrology, of esoteric teaching. So this is what we may do. We may do some work which would be related to beauty procedures, for example, or some design, beautiful work that is related to beauty on this particular day. We may travel cautiously. We may do our routine work. New beginnings, I would not advise this on this particular day, but if you need to, the day wouldn't be that bad. If there is something that you really need to do, you may, because then the moon is receiving the harmonious aspect from Jupiter and Venus. So to travel, you may cautiously. Surgical interventions, no. And then we have an 11th. On the 11th, it's good to be careful. In terms of travel, I would avoid on this day. Surgical interventions, no. On this day, you may do study, sharing knowledge, you may do media work, you may do spiritual work, but really to travel, I would avoid on this particular day. Just do your routine business. Media work is still very much okay, but carefully, because everything should be double checked, triple checked, as otherwise you may be misunderstood. Excuse me. On the 12th, the moon is passing through beautiful degrees of speaker, a star of communication, eloquence, and this is exactly what we can do. Luck, spirituality, money. So we may do our routine business without taking any risks. We may do media work with double, triple checking everything that we do. Surgical interventions and new beginnings, not. On the 13th, the moon enters very fine degrees in Libra, where we can do design work, beauty procedures, because Venus is very well placed. We may travel cautiously, everything cautiously. We may not do invasive surgical procedures, beauty procedures, we may. Planting, we may. 14th as well, I would say absolutely similar things would apply for the 14th of June. Beauty procedures, travel is possible. Communication, design work, this is okay. Surgical interventions, no. And then the moon passes on the 15th of June to the very knowledgeable degrees of Hermes, very good for enhancing intuition, knowledge, for sharing your knowledge, for learning. This will be, on this day you'll be blessed. For, we may feel a little bit too emotional when it comes to a romantic life, but in any case, the day will be good for routine work, for the everyday work, which would be which may be associated with knowledge, spirituality, enhancing intuition, beauty. And then the moon passes through very powerful degrees, and this is the 16th, I forgot to say, of Scorpio. It's good to avoid conflicts on this particular day. We may travel cautiously. We may do our routine work just without being involved in any risks, because Mars still remains quite powerful and still invisible. So he can be unpredictable. Therefore, it's good to listen our intuition before performing any activity. Surgical interventions, no. Travel, you may cautiously. You may plant on this day. You will be rewarded. And then we have in 17th of June, and this is exactly the full moon day, when the full moon day will happen in Sagittarius, to emphasize on Sagittarius, Saturn, Pluto. This day is when the energies can be a little bit tense. It would say that we may need to be a little bit patient, very spiritual, patient with the energies that we may experience. Patient with the people around us, not getting involved in any risky situation. The sky is a bit tense on this particular moment because it's a bit complex. We have Mars invisible with Mercury conjoined. We have the opposition of Moon and Sun, Saturn, Pluto conjunction. We may hear of unfortunate events during this and the next day, and the day before. That's why it's good to be cautious and not perform. I would avoid even traveling if I can on this particular day. Spiritual activities, meditation is fine. Routine business, okay, but very cautiously, without being involved in conflicting situations. Similar is for the 18th. Absolutely the same thing would be valid for the 18th of June. On the 19th of June, the moon is in very esoteric, very clairvoyant degrees of the Capricorn, and this is exactly what this day can serve us for, like enhancing intuition, clairvoyant activities for those who have it. The day contemplating, like meditating, the day may not be really appropriate, or if you need to do surgical interventions on this day, you may, but really not invasive and cautiously, like depending on the organ that will be approached, but still, this is one of the acceptable days. New beginnings, not. 21st of June, similar will be valid. On this particular day, you may do work related to researching ancient knowledge, rechecking, rereading, revisiting knowledge, philosophies, learning from the past. This day will be okay for the routine work. Surgical interventions are possible, but again, make sure that you double, triple check every single detail. You might travel as well. June 22nd, the day is fine to travel, fine for surgical interventions, for media work, communication, not really. For spiritual work, yes. For your routine work, yes. For new beginnings, not. 23rd, the same. You may travel, you may do surgical interventions, you may travel, media work, not really that supported. For your routine work, the day is fine. 24th of June, I would say absolutely the same. And then on the 25th of June, the moon is on a very, very spiritual, very deeply a philosophical place. On this day, this is what how we can benefit from the day with spiritual activities, carefully when traveling. I would say surgical interventions, better not, or double, triple check every single detail. New beginnings, not. Philosophical, psychological studies, healing practices, very good. Enhancing your intuition, very good. 26th, similar, but on this day I would be even more cautious when traveling, when performing any important activities. On this day I would be more cautious, and I would not would stay away from any conflicting situations. And then we are having June 27th. On this particular day, you may travel, new beginnings, not surgical interventions, cautiously, but yes, some. You may also, for surgical interventions, you may need to double, triple check every single detail around them. New beginnings, the day is really not appropriate. Communication, media work, you may double, triple check every single detail. 28th of June, very similar is the situation. You may travel cautiously, new beginnings, not. Surgical interventions, cautiously, with double, triple checking every single detail. Then on the 29th, the moon has no course. And on this particular day, not much can be done, not really high results can be expected from any activity that we perform. Therefore, we just can do our routine work. Travel, you may, surgical interventions, not. Media work, we can study, we can do spiritual work on this day, not so much more than that. And then on the 30th of June, the day is very fine for our finances, for our routine work, but still, because this is the lunar crescent is already about to disappear, I would say new beginnings are not appropriate. Surgical interventions, you may, but cautiously. Travel, you may. So this is the last day of June, and I will see you next month with July. Your comments are very welcome, and if you like to contact me for advice or consultation, my details are below. Thank you.